Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good day to you. Good evening. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the United Kingdom News and Culture. Let's bring out our panelists. DIANN, FLOYD, BOEHM, traveling somewhere in the United States. Hello, DIANN. Nice to see you.
Thanks. It's great to see you, Dr. Jacalyn.
I just want to thank you that you always take us with you wherever you go. So I appreciate that. Even though you've got the green screen up, you're traveling around and you're making sure that you're here for the shows. I really do appreciate that.
You're quite welcome. It's one of my favorite shows. I learned so much from our other co-hosts. So
I do too. And let's welcome the beautiful, the dynamic Helena Chard. Hello.
Oh, you're too kind. Hi, lovely to see you both.
Nice to see you as well. And Mr. Ian Pelham-Turner has the day off, so we look forward to having him back next time. And let's welcome the debonair, dashing Simon MacDonald. Welcome.
Oh, flattery gets you everywhere. I was just thinking out there about Anne's travels and so on. I reckon her red bus has much more mileage than yours has, Dr. Jacalyn.
I think that is definitely true, for sure. You know, Simon, I was thinking of you yesterday. My mom and I were at the dentist, and we were talking about fish. We were talking about salmon and about farm-grown salmon, you know, what's happening with the oceans. And it's just quite incredible how people are not really aware. I was talking to people in the office there. People have no idea about what's going on in the salmon industry or with ocean pollution. It's amazing.
I mean, salmon is becoming, farmed salmon or farmed fish is a huge business. And it's gone back years and years and years and years. I mean, the ancient Egyptians, the Chinese, they've all been involved in fish farming for thousands of years. In fact, tilapia is probably the oldest farm fish on the planet, and carp as well is the biggest farm fish on the planet. But salmon is rapidly taking the #1 spot now. And in the UK, it's our biggest food export. But the surprising thing is now there's a lot of salmon actually being grown on land. You don't need to grow it in the sea anymore. They have these huge sort of factory-like buildings with absolute total control over the climate, the temperature, et cetera, the water temperature, the circulation of the water, how quickly it goes in the flow to allow the fish to be fitter swimmers. And it's like something out of a James Bond set when you go into one of these things. And they're massive, great big projects. And this is the way of the future because it's totally proof of and resilient as far as global warming goes, because you've got full control of the temperature inside the building. And it's a water recirculation system. So there's no excess water having to come into the building and nothing's going out. It's completely filtrated. They're growing their own fish feed in the place as well. It's a whole self-contained thing. It's a really exciting development in aquaculture. So it's there to feed the world. And I think one of the leading areas is Maine. So on your side of the pond, but there's systems getting set up here as well. And I'm doing some consultancy work next year for a huge project of that nature in Sweden. So I'm going to be adding the value. So it's just as well Ian's not here, because I'm just going to go on to the subject of smoked salmon here, because I'll be building a supersized smokehouse for this big land-based salmon farm in Sweden next year. So there we are. Technology
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's fabulous.
wow,
It's
wonderful.
really-
I do have a follow-up. Oh, I'm sorry, Helena, go ahead.
So I was just going to ask, whereabouts in Sweden, Simon?
It's not far from Stockholm, but it's inland a bit. It's
The
an
follow-up
unpronounceable-
question. Oh, sorry. That's a little.
It's one of these unpronounceable names.
My follow-up question is about something that somebody shared on one of our shows. And I'm sorry that I haven't seen these, but apparently there are these huge windmills, winds, I don't know what they're called. They're out in the ocean.
Oh, yes. Oh, bane of my life just now.
Can you tell us more about that?
How long have we got? I've been knocking heavily on the fisheries minister's door and every other minister's door as well in government, because in the UK, in the North Sea just now, they are really starting to take over, and it's really eating into the fishing grounds that are available. And there's plans for another 19,000 of these windmills offshore on the east coast of Scotland alone for the next 5 years. And we've just got a new big development that's taking up 754 square kilometers of water just off the island of Islay over here on the west coast as well. So that's due to start developing as well. I mean, a phenomenal amount of electricity being generated by these things. But when they bring it ashore here, and the cables coming ashore are actually causing big problems in the fishing industry as well. But when they bring it ashore, suddenly we found that our national grid system here of electricity cannot cope with the amount of power that's being generated offshore. So it's at the moment it's like a total waste of time until they actually get their act together and get the national grid system here capable of coping with it, which they're going to have to do because everybody's going down the route of electric cars now, and there's electricity needed for this and that and the next thing more than ever before. So there's another problem, man-made problem that we have.
Yes, and also, wasn't it last week you were sharing with us how it was affecting the dolphins knowing where to go and the signals?
Yes, that's mainly with the cables coming ashore, because they've got this electromagnetic field that surrounds the cables as they're coming ashore, which is disrupting the migratory path of crab, which they migrate in an anti-clockwise direction around the UK, and they get sort of high on these electric fields, and so they all congregate around these cables, and they won't go anywhere. The big downside of it is there's no point in going out there and just starting to fish there, because you're not allowed to fish directly on these cables for obvious reasons. But they've also discovered now there's a lot of deformities appearing in lobster and crab and even finfish as well in the vicinity of these cables. So this is a major problem. It's a case of technology has galloped too quickly, pushed by the government in a quest to generate as much power as they can, and it's overtaken the scientific background. All these things need to have a scientific base to work out where the problems are before it all happens. Unfortunately, it's all happening before the scientific base has actually been worked out. So it's it's a big issue just now, in particular with fisheries.
Fascinating. Thanks. Great
I'm
mind.
very serious today. This is unlike me.
I love hearing about that. Thank you, Simon.
I have a question. It's probably silly, but I remember when I was in school, we Seattle, Washington, and Maine were the two states that had salmon, and you only in Texas got salmon at this particular time, and you would always learn how the fish, swim upstream and so forth. So in these big places that you're talking about now on land, are they still letting the fish be natural and swim upstream, or are they screwing with how they actually do things?
Yeah,
Naturally.
wild salmon is actually becoming very difficult to find now, and in the salmon rivers in Scotland, I mean, Scotland's been famous for its salmon fishing for ever since Noah was a little boy, and with the salmon there now, they've gradually disappeared. So the fishing that goes on in the rivers with the anglers. Any salmon you catch now has to be released alive back into the waters again, because it's become an incredibly rare species. Not like it was a number of years ago when on the Highland estates, the estate workers were allowed to take home no more than one salmon a day, which is a lot of salmon. But now, you just don't see the wild salmon at all. It's very, very sad. But the fish farms now, everything's contained. They have their own hatcheries, so they've got the eggs, producing the eggs, hatching them out into the juvenile fish and the smolts, and rearing them on up to a marketable size, which is about 3 to 4 kilos, or a little bit over that, which is in US terms about 7 pounds upwards. So it's a complete industry, completely self-contained as well. So the farm salmon we have today, if they were released into the wild, they wouldn't know where to go. They've never had to go and hunt for their meals. It's there. They get 3 square meals a day. What a lifestyle.
Yeah, really.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing. I just want to know, DIANN, did you say Washington?
Oh yeah, sorry, that's a Texas accent coming out. I get in trouble for that. Washington.
It sounded like
today.
Well, in Philadelphia, we'd always say water.
Water.
I can always tell where you've been each week, DIANN. Your accent changes very slightly.
Depends on what state I'm in.
Or you're up New York State, then you're a complete travelogue.
Yeah, it's funny. In Georgia, I discovered my accent was getting a little bit that sweet Southern accent, but the closer I get to Texas, it's coming back, I guess. I keep wishing for that gorgeous UK accent, but it just doesn't come.
It wouldn't take long.
I don't know. We were watching a show the other night, and we watch a lot of BritBox, and I was like, oh, my husband's sitting next to me. I go, I could just listen to him talk all day. My husband was not too happy.
Why don't they have a course to teach Americans how to speak like you? I think that's, I would take it. Wouldn't you?
The only way you're going to learn it is to be totally immersed in it forevermore, and then gradually it will creep in. But you never ever lose your own home accent, unless your name, of course, is DIANN. Then she picks up the accent. But yeah, I mean, you really never lose the accent that you were born with from the area that you were brought up in. It's always there.
Well, what's interesting is that the celebrities, the movie stars, when they're doing these movies, they might be from Australia, and you would never know. They have to learn how to get rid of the accent to do these different parts.
Oh, it's all part of it.
Clever.
Yeah, very clever. Very clever.
Some are better than some, though, I think, don't you? When you're watching some movies, then you just know. Actually, when I watch American movies and it's an American actor or actress and they're not doing the English accent that well, not all of them, just occasionally.
Yeah.
Would you like to drop any names, Helena?
I have no idea who it was, actually. I just remember watching something. It was one of those just easy watching films. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, watching some of the old movies, and which of the old Hollywood movies, but they're using a Scottish scene and American actors playing a West Highlander or something like that, and the accent is
so wrong.
Of course, I don't like to say anything, just enjoy the movie, and, try and forget the accent. And then even the more recently, likes of Braveheart as well. I mean, it's so historically inaccurate. I mean, they weren't wearing kilts in those days.
Is that right? I did not know that.
And there weren't any Australians either playing William Wallace. I mean, William Wallace was a god. He wasn't an Aussie.
It's interesting because Diane and I have talked about this on the Corner Bookstore, but Diane does extensive research for her books, as do many other people. And it's interesting how in the movies they don't do the research they should do. Who do we talk to?
Well, they should do. That's so naughty. They're supposed to, aren't they?
They are.
I mean, they have a whole department that's supposed to be doing the research. Madness.
It is
crazy. So what's going on in the news in the UK, Helena?
Well, there's lots and lots of things going on. I mean, goodness me, starting with, we've just been advised that our UK economy is about to shrink by 0.3% by the IMS, which is the worst out of all the G7 countries. But on a positive note, everyone's revving up to the coronation, King Charles III coronation, and it's a funny old time. It's a funny old time. I mean, there's lots of people sort of talking about cost of living and saying how can so much money be spent on the coronation, but it's a time for everyone to celebrate, and quite frankly, I'm actually really, really looking forward to it. So I'm crossing off the days as I talk. But we spoke about Ring for the King a little while ago. I don't know if everyone remembers, and that was to do with campanologists. And so we have a bell ringer shortage at the moment.
Helena, we're not able to hear you.
I thought it was just me. Simon, about the bell ringer shortage?
Hmm?
Do you know about the bell ringer shortage?
No, I didn't. No, clampanologist is what they call them. Clampanologists. It sounds like a terrible disease, but yes, I suppose there's not many Quasimodos about these days, are there? That's a good point.
How to ring that bell? Helena, are you back with sound?
Sure. No, your computer's on mute or by itself for some reason.
Huh. Never had that happen before.
I know.
Yeah, no, that's an odd one.
It just put itself on
technology.
mute.
It must have been got mixed up with one of the fish farms.
So I was going to say the salmon swam upstream to her.
It's those cables with the crabs.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're still used to
go.
it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There you go.
There we go.
Try again.
Don't be shy, Helena.
This is our musical interlude now.
So Simon, are you going to go over to the coronation? It's just a plane right away, right?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my invite coming.
So if you don't get an official invite, can you stand in the periphery?
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to be sort of in dry dock then, more or less, because I go in for a knee operation on the 25th of this. God, it's just over a week's time now. Is it a week to 2 weeks today or something like that, or 2 weeks yesterday?
2 weeks.
So yeah, so I'm getting a brand new knee. I'm going to the knee shop and getting a new toe.
That's
You can get
exciting.
some of that jellyfish put in you, like you were telling us about the jellyfish.
I know. I'm bringing that very point up with the consultant surgeon to see if what he thinks of it, and but living a little bit close to a coastal area, I'm just worried in case he goes out with a little net in a bucket, so I catch jellyfish to slap over my knee.
Now, will you name your knee? Will you have a knee naming?
A knee naming ceremony.
Yes.
No, there's a thought.
Love that.
Yes.
I've heard that before when people get, different body parts or whatever, they name them.
Answers on a postcard, please. Suggestions. Yeah, no. Well, it's the left one that's going. That's going to be hacked about there. So yeah, it means when I come out, I'll have one tin knee and one human knee, and so I'll be sort of walking around in circles for a wee while, I think, until I get it evened up on the other side.
Now, are you getting this? Yeah, are you getting the knee so you can start jogging, or you're going to do some special exercise, tennis, pickleball? I don't know.
Oh, they've. I mean, the regime for the recovery from a knee operation is, it's about 6 weeks before you're even allowed to drive a car. And I said, well, look, I've got an automatic, which is fine. It's not a stick shift car I've got. So if I get in, my left knee is doing nothing because the side of the road we drive on here and all the rest is all different. But so that my knee will get plenty of rest time if I'm driving. So the surgeon's not amused with that one at all. I worry about this guy. He's got no sense of humor, and that really does freak me out.
So 6 weeks, you're going to be man down.
Well, no, I will be here. I mean, you don't.
Will you be upright or you'll be lounging?
No. I will be sitting in the chair because the day of the operation, they like to get you up and about to actually start moving. It's got some masochistic tendencies. These doctors nowadays, I think, and they like to see you in pain and sweating blood, so that.
Walking up and down the aisle with your back open from that.
Holding on to the
oh, yes. But it's just the thought of actually going up and down stairs. That's the one that gets me. But it's there.
Do you have a lot of stairs in your home?
I've got enough. Yes.
You might have to go
when you've had a knee replacement, 2 steps is more than enough, I think, as well.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, that's.
But anyway, it will be done. But they apparently they teach you all that sort of thing in the hospital before they allow you out. You're only in 2 or 3 days, so it's it's not a big deal now, I think. So I'm reliably informed, but. Yeah, so that will be it. I'm going to have fun then anytime I go to catch a flight in the airports. That'll set all the alarm bells off and ringing and so on. So I'm quite sure I could milk that one for all it's worth.
That's great. While you're setting off the alarm barrels, how is the politics going in Scotland? Everybody all happy now?
There are more alarm bells ringing there as well, big time. So since last week's show there, when I'd explained that Nicola Sturgeon's husband had been arrested for possibly having his fingers in the till, a little bit more has transpired now, and he's actually the police haven't charged him as yet, but that's pending further investigations. And the investigations are ongoing. The latest one was just the other day. They impounded a big £100,000 motorhome, or is it RV you call them there, from his mother's, hiding in his mother's house. Now, his mother's about 97, and I don't see her taking to the roads in an RV going her holidays. So this has been sort of squirreled away from their house, and it's been put there. So that has now been impounded with the police. So the saga goes on. In the meantime, our new First Minister, Mr. Hamza Yousaf, is trying to field all sorts of awkward questions. But it seems that the accounts of the Scottish Nationalist Party are about £600,000 adrift, which is in dollars it could be about $750,000. So there's a lot of money that's gone missing, and they're trying to track it down. So they've got all the accounts and so on from the Scottish Nationalist Party in their custody at the moment. And also transpired this week, their firm of accountants has resigned from the Scottish Nationalist Party accounts. And it transpires as well that last October, their entire audit committee packed it in and left. So this has been going on for quite some time. So, it's watch this space. It's, ever developing. In the meantime, the show goes on, and it's still the usual sort of confused state of affairs we've got here. So I think government at the moment in Scotland is very tenuous. And the two arch rival parties, the Conservatives and Labour in Scotland, are actually now looking at having a bit of a pact amongst each other to try and drive the Scottish government out. So it is, a week in politics is a long time. This last week has been like a lifetime for them. So wow. There we go. It's
interesting.
It is an interesting scenario just now. I mean, the likes of which we have never seen. Hopefully, we'll never see again.
Because you always think of the Scottish people are such great money savers, and so I never think of them ever wanting to take anything from the till. That they're always saving.
Yeah, we've known to have short arms and deep pockets.
Funny, Helena.
I mean, there's even a saying as well of, if you go into a town and it looks very, very quiet, they say, "Oh, it's like Aberdeen on a charity day."
Oh gosh.
Welcome back, Helena.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
I don't know whether it's
the holidays.
I think it's this 70-mile-per-hour winds that we've got going on outside. It's absolutely ferocious, so it could be that. I do apologise if I go again, but hopefully I'm here for a bit. I missed you. I'm not sure you were talking.
You're going to tell us what
politics, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much you heard, but I was talking about Ring for the King, and we were talking about what for the coronation coming up, the greatest historic coronation for King Charles III, where they were looking for lots of bell ringers to ring out on the special day on the 6th of June. And so we're looking for 38,000 church bell ringers, and we've got 30,000. They're known as campanologists. I think Simon maybe was talking about campanologists, not sure, but anyway, so 1,750 people have come forward, and possibly so we're missing a few hundred, but it should be okay. And it was the Central Council of Church Bell Ringers that put out for volunteers to come forward. I personally think it's something really special to be involved with. Lots of people came forward and then they pulled out, as people do, but it takes a minimum of 20 hours to actually train someone just to ring one bell, and that's solely on their own. And it's very much physical. It's not to do with sort of physical stamina, although you need it a little bit. It's mental agility, and the people that they've got are from age 9 to 90, which I think is really interesting. And apparently it's a really lovely sort of a group of people to get involved with. It's very much, it brings it community spirit, which is really great. And each peal, which is the whole ringing ceremony, lasts about either 45 minutes, which I think is a quarter peal, or 3.5 hours. Can you imagine? That's huge, isn't it? Ringing bells for that long. But
my ears are ringing.
Well, they're not ringing from London, that's for sure. Please stop blowing away again. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, I mean, we're basking in beautiful dull weather here. Oops, not sunshine today, but we've certainly not got the 70-mile-an-hour winds and so on. I think they actually named the storm that England's getting this time. They never bother to name the storms we get in Scotland. They sort of say, "Oh, they're used to it. Doesn't matter." I mean, it's just a little bit of a draft blowing out there today. Okay, 120-mile-an-hour winds I've experienced in Scotland in the past, and I remember there was one. In fact, it was probably more than that, because our local fish farm at the time recorded a gust of wind coming through at 120 miles an hour. But the next gust that came through was even stronger, but they couldn't record it because the first one had blown the wind measuring equipment away. So that, it gets pretty drafty here at times. But 70-mile-an-hour wind in London can cause a lot of damage. So, it's, good luck to them. Yeah. Now they're learning how the other half live. Yeah.
Diane, you're on mute also.
Sorry, everything's muting.
Have you got 70-mile-an-hour winds there as well?
No, I was just trying to be polite. So in Northern Ireland, so do they get wind like that, or in at the northern part of Wales, do you think, or is it just?
It's all over there. I mean, the British Isles is not really that big, I suppose, when you look at it in terms of the landmass in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a heck of a lot goes on in that small space.
Yes.
Northern Ireland, there's plenty of wind. In fact, now your president, Mr. Biden, was touched down in Belfast, Northern Ireland, there yesterday. So that's it. But a lot of fears about the troubles of Ireland kicking off again, and they apparently found what is suspected to be 4 pipe bombs when Biden arrived. So the army or the police have come along and rendered them safe, so that Mr. Biden can continue on his merry way. I think next stop he was going to Southern Ireland. Ireland's a strange place, and it could only happen with the Irish. That in Southern Ireland is actually geographically further north than Northern Ireland. If you go up to the very tip, it's actually Southern Ireland that's the most northerly part of Ireland. So Northern Ireland is more south than south. If you can work that one out, you're better than I am.
I better look at the map again.
I can see there's a picture of you there with a calculator trying to work out. But the Irish have got great ways of working out these things. When you go to Ireland, and the direction that you get there is a different type of direction that you get here in Scotland. If you were asking somebody directions in Scotland to get to somewhere, they'd say, oh yeah, you go along the road here, and at the church you turn left, and you go along, and then there's another church and you turn right. Well, in Ireland, they'll turn around and say, oh yes, well, you go along here, and you turn left at O'Shaughnessy's bar, and then you go on, and then there's another pub there, and you turn right there, and you go. We use churches as landmarks. They use pubs. And it takes them a long time to get from one to another. A long less time in each pub.
That's funny.
I just want to share, Helen is not able to join us because of the Wi-Fi, but she also mentioned that correction. She shared that the coronation date is June the 6th instead of what it actually is Saturday, the 6th of May.
Oh.
Yes. Yes, I don't know where she got the June bit from. They're all packed up and gone home by then.
God, I thought they'd changed the month or something, but
yes,
it's all that bell ringing. It starts to get to your head.
It's the bells.
For sure.
But, the coronation, I think there's a bit of controversy going on there because of the route that the coach, the procession is taking from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Abbey. There's the distance that it's been laid out this time is only a fifth of the distance it was when the Queen got, coronated, crowned. And so it's a worry now about crowd control because, all the world and their auntie are going to want to descend in London to watch the royal procession going by in the state coach to and from Westminster. But if it's all condensed into a much smaller route, then there's going to be an awful lot of people very disappointed that crowd control for that particular shortened route is now going to be quite difficult because everybody is wanting to get a glimpse of the King and Queen Consort. Yeah. Or she'll be Queen Consort going, but she'll be Queen coming back. I have more confusion.
Well, because it's part of history. It's part of history. They want to say, I was there when history was being made, right?
Absolutely, yes. And, who can blame them? You know,
Yeah.
it'd be absolutely fantastic if they could only get my invite to me in time. In actual fact, I think, you know, if I got an invite, I would be sort of hesitant about accepting. I would sooner watch it all on television, because you're going to see far more that's happening. With your invite, you know, you might suddenly find yourself stuck behind a column in Westminster Abbey, unable to see a darn thing except big lumps of stonework in front of your nose, and so on. So, okay, you might get the atmosphere of the fact you're inside Westminster Abbey, but you're not going to see anything.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, you're sitting at home, you've got it there all, I was going to say in black and white, we've progressed since then, in color now.
Are you still watching black and white?
You know, my daddy always said that about my daddy always said that about baseball games. I was like, Daddy, we always went to the baseball games. He goes, I can see much better on TV.
Yeah,
So
it's
true. You
Yeah,
don't have to
you
wait in
see
line for the bathroom. You have so many amenities.
Yeah,
So-
no, you see it all when when you've got that box in front of you to look into, and it's there. So, and I actually, showing my age now, I remember watching the Queen's coronation on television back in 1953. And I mean, television would really more or less just come out at that stage. And I always remember my father, seeing my father walking past the front of the house, going in through the kitchen with this great big box. And it was like a big cabinet sort of over his shoulder, and bringing it in. And then you plug it in. And you've got to wait about 5 minutes while it all warms up and starts going, and the picture sort of gradually gets bigger and bigger and clearer and clearer. But clarity of a picture then is not like it is now, believe me.
No.
So it was all, of course, in black and white. We couldn't afford the license for the color. So yeah, I remember that, and I was sort of knee-high to a grasshopper at the time, but I do remember sitting in front of this television with the rest of the family and watching the coronation. And I can still recall the thoughts of all the anthems and the music that was being sung. And I thought it was quite horrific and very scary for sort of 2 or 3 year old child to be having this booming down, plus the fact this new box in front of you that was sort of showing it all in graphic black and white. It was quite traumatic. I think it's probably affected my life ever since.
This explains quite a lot, Simon.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's great. I know this is when you find out who your friends are.
Well, it's been a very interesting show. We're sorry that Helena is not back to join us. And but Simon, thank you so much for sharing all of the wonderful inspiration that you did today. I always learn a lot from you. And DIANN, thank you again for your great questions and for taking us with you wherever you go.
You're welcome. I love it. And I was really excited, Simon, that you shared information about Northern Ireland and a tiny bit about Wales, because we don't ever get to hear much about that part of the UK. So thank you.
Yes, I know it is. It's slightly sort of detached from the rest of us. Well, it is. It's got the Irish Sea that Boris Johnson wanted to build a tunnel through or put a bridge over, and thought, no, this just ain't going to happen. But there we are.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're so beautiful. I haven't been up to Northern Wales, and I still need to do Northern Scotland. But anyway, thank you.
Well, my mother lived for a number of years. In fact, she's planted in the graveyard down at just outside Hay and Wye, which is on the Welsh-English border, more towards the south of it. And it's absolutely beautiful there. A really, really pretty area. And Hay and Wye is, of course, famous as being the book town. The population of Hay and Wye is about 1,500 people. And they have this enormous book festival there every year. And they've had top speakers from all around the world. They even had Bill Clinton speaking there. I don't know whether he could read the books, but he could speak. So he was there one year, and there's always big names. So this little town with a population of 1,500 people gets jumped on by 70,000 people every year when the book festival is on. And you've got to be a really, really special author, just like DIANN, to get a spot there to be able to present your your writings and your books. So it's an absolutely magical place. And if it's not books there, then it's antiques. My mother had 6 antique shops in that little town. But Hay&Y, for its book festival, for its 1,500 population, there are over 40 secondhand bookshops in Hay&Y. So that's a lot of bookshops per head of population almost.
That is amazing.
And the world's 2 largest bookshops are in Hay&Y. One was in a converted movie theater, and it is just absolutely staggering to go into this place.
Wow.
It is the atmosphere in there, and you can smell these old books. It's a wonderful experience going to Hay&Y. I absolutely love that town. Really beautiful.
Wow.
Simon, I think you would be and Diane also, great guest for Global Adventures with Janetta Barry. I'd really like to have the 2 of you on separately, but great stories. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have to close out because I'm Spiritual But is coming up right after this. So Diane, how can people reach out to you as you're on the move, and who would you like to contact you?
So you may reach me at DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com, DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com. And anyone can reach out to me who's interested in learning more about how to write books in case you're thinking about it. I love to help people. And, or if you want to share what you think about some of my stories I've written. And I just love hearing from people. So thank you, Dr. Jacalyn.
Thank you so much, Diane. And actually, we're going to close out today with a new sponsorship from DIANN FLOYD BOEHM. But before we do that, Simon, how can people reach you, and who would you like to contact?
Oh, you can reach me any old way. But, I mean, every week I come up with a new quirky saying or a quote and so on. This week I've got 2 questions to ask, which you can ponder over until the next time we meet. And one is, if we're not meant to have midnight snacks, why do they put a light in the fridge?
I love it.
Good one.
But the other question as well that has puzzled me for years, why do they put frosted glass in the toilet windows in an airplane at 35,000 feet?
I love it.
Wow. We are going to be thinking about these amazing questions. In the meantime, people can contact Simon by emailing him at MacDonaldSimon, MacDonaldSimon @ymail.com. Okay. Thank you.
That was
All
great.
right. Thank you both for being here. Thank you, everyone, for watching and for listening. We will be right back with I'm Spiritual But. So thank you for being here and joining us again. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.